Hello, everybody. This is Vineet Sharma, the Director of Center of Supply Chain Excellence at St. Louis University, and I have the pleasure of having with me Mohit Ahuja. Uh, Hi, Mohit. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me. Really appreciate it.
Vineet.
I know you're busy, so we'll start with just your introduction for the sake of the audience, if you don't mind, please.
Well, first of all, hello, Vineet. Thanks for inviting me to this platform.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Um, so, my name is Mohit Ahuja. I am currently working as a program manager for Caterpillar, um, working on managing a $500,000 program for supply chain optimization.
Mm,
The program spans across multitude of challenges that the companies have been facing post COVID.
mm,
So regionalization, um, setting up near shoring
mm,
facilities
mm,
to having a better mix of make versus buy. So that's the overall this with of the program that I'm managing.
mhm.
Um, Academically, I have a background in mechanical engineering and a master's in aerospace with focus on AI
Mhm.
from University of Cincinnati, and I also have an MBA from University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign.
Mhm. That's awesome. That's great. I'm sure you have a lot going on in your world. Um, you mentioned nearshoring, and that got my attention. Uh, Tell me a little bit about nearshoring. What's going on there? What's the importance of nearshoring, and how has the trend changed from offshoring to nearshoring in the recent years?
Well, post COVID, majority of the companies have realized that it's not just about the money that's being saved by
Mm.
offshoring the components.
Yeah.
It's also about there are multitude of factors that needs to be considered,
Hmm.
and one some of those challenges we all everybody saw during COVID when
Yeah.
the ports were locked, the
Yeah.
supply was we couldn't meet the demand,
Yeah.
and everybody scrambled, to keep the production running,
Yeah.
which is harder than the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna, take an example of my team,
Mm.
which led to the program basically that I'm
Mm.
managing. It We ended up spending more than north of $100 million just in the
Mm.
air freight
Mm.
to keep the production running.
Oh, wow.
Which is a big amount.
Oh,
And
mm.
definitely, so that raised the eyebrows of the leaders, and
Mm.
basically pushed the team to start
Mm.
thinking about the ways we can,
Mm.
reorg our supply
Yeah.
chain, or realign our supply chain, to prevent any such incidents in future.
Yeah.
Now, coming back to your question about nearshoring, it's
Yeah.
not just COVID; it's also the other, variables that have now,
Mm.
played a major,
Yeah.
role these days in the decision. One of them is definitely the increasing tariff war
Yeah.
between the countries. Be it U.S., China,
Yeah.
with the new administration,
Yeah.
we might see a harder push on NAFTA, which also
Yeah.
could be, lead us to a strenuous relationships with our neighbors,
Yeah.
and then, events like, we have two wars happening
Yes.
simultaneously, which also impacts the routes for these
Oh,
supply chain,
yes.
logistics. So all these factors, and these are like just a few
Yes.
to, name,
Yeah.
has definitely increased the demand for nearshoring your
Hmm.
production, so that you can have I would say supply chain in your control.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I see that as a trend as I talk to several industry leaders. Uh, I'm seeing companies moving to Mexico and other countries that are nearby to mitigate this risk that COVID exposed. It was already always there, but it was exposed in a big way during COVID. Um, so moving on to the next question, I mean, what are the biggest challenges that you're working on these days? And if you could shed some light on it, and what are you doing to overcome those challenges?
Absolutely. No, so as I mentioned, the program spans across multitude of areas.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest challenge that every just like any com- big company we face is where to allocate the money so that we can have the best return. Now,
Exactly.
be it making that or changing that mix of make versus buy,
Mm-hmm.
or do we have our own new facilities? Where do we then, and if we do decide to put the new
Mm-hmm.
facilities, should
Mm-hmm.
it be within the states or
Mm-hmm.
outside? Would how would that impact the overall supply chain
Mm-hmm.
equation? you know and nowadays a new risk methodology that needs to be worked upon is how do we figure out the geopolitical challenges to
Yeah.
be and embed them into our financial cases when making decision on those investment. I
Yeah.
think that's where the the are the biggest challenges that I'm facing within my program.
Yeah.
To cater those,
Mm-hmm.
we have now started looking into not just financial KPIs,
Mm-hmm.
but also started to quantify some of
Mm-hmm.
these risks.
Mm.
And something that I'm working is what I call as risk quantification calculator.
Okay.
Simple tool, but
Mm-hmm.
what it's based off is, you know, what challenges or what events have we
Mm.
seen
Mm.
that have impacted supply chain in the last 10 years? What were the potential impact on the business disruption?
Mm-hmm.
And what are the potential, like basically a possibility of happening that again?
Mm-hmm.
And when we combine the overall business disruption impact, multiply
Yeah.
by um, your probability, that gives you a sensitivity that you can
Mm-hmm.
then use along with your financial KPIs and provide it to the leaders so that
Yeah.
they can see it from both lens. So that's one of the areas that I'm
Mm.
working. It's crude at this point, I would
Mm.
say. It's not perfect, but we
Yeah.
had to start somewhere.
Yeah. It always is the case, right? I mean, we cannot aim for perfection. We gotta start somewhere. And I like the sound of it, right? I mean, now we're not just talking about the financial KPI because that has always been the case, let's take a look at the financial KPIs, the dollars and what have you. But now it's also important to look at the risk associated, or the opportunities, and things of that nature. I mean, that is wonderful. I like that approach a lot. And so maybe in the future, you and I can connect and talk about the risk quantification program, or that you're working on, and what you're seeing out of it.
Absolutely. I mean, we have been looking into various, industry players to
Mm-hmm.
help us with this. There are few frameworks that currently exist, but
Mm,
nothing as such that works directly for us.
mm,
So we decided to work on our own, and in fact, I'm leading that initiative myself. Okay,
excellent. Mm,
from that, it's harder than we think,
yeah,
because it's easier to capture the amount of business disruption that we faced, but
yeah.
how do we basically put a trust among the probability of that happening. So, for example, a COVID-like scenario,
Yeah.
basically, majority of the companies had to basically put a lot of money to keep their
Yeah.
business running. But
Ex-
is it going to happen sooner than later? Or,
Mm,
like for example, McKinsey, as
yeah.
per their research, there is
Mm.
a 1 in 4 chances that a similar event might happen next 10 years.
Oh,
You
is
know,
it? Wow. Mm,
yes. I don't know how much you are
mm,
keeping an eye, but there's recently another, epidemic that's been, highlighted in China these
mm.
days, which has the potential. So,
Oh,
do we start
right.
preparing again or not?
Mm,
That
mm.
is something, to think about. And so, we can keep an eye on similar events, but how do we force our leaders to act in a timely
Yeah.
manner?
Yeah.
That's the biggest challenge.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And who can deny the advantages of having your production close to your customers, right? I mean, uh, you know, there's always that advantage that you have if you have your supply chain organized in such a way that you can cater to the demand of your customers, the change in their needs, the change in the taste, the change in the market quickly,
Exactly.
versus having a huge lead time of, several months or what have you.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about optimization of
Yeah,
the resources. How can we
e-
best serve the customers? Now,
exactly.
uh, there was time where companies were able to get things for cheap on time,
Hmm.
didn't had to worry about the tariffs,
Yeah,
and the customer were happy with the quality and all. Things have changed, scenarios have
yeah,
changed with the new administration, the across the countries.
yeah,
Now, has been a paradigm shift,
yeah.
and I think soon sooner than later we will see a new dynamics where we will see
Mm,
a shift of
mm.
how our supply chains are being orchestrated.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we'll have to keep a close eye on what's happening this year. And especially when the new administration begins, their tenure. So we'll have to see how things shape up. That's wonderful. Obviously, the time is limited. So I want to ask you, what are the skills that are in demand these days that you think the students should learn so that they are uh, you know they get a job, so I'm sure the students that are listening to this conversation would love to know from you as an industry expert as to what are the skills that they should be focusing on.
I would say definitely, uh, being data savvy
Mm,
and having a good grasp of your or developing analytical skills, it
mm-hmm,
would come handy,
mm,
because that's where the would make it makes it better for
mm-hmm.
especially within supply chain when it comes to demand planning and all. So
Yeah.
I think those skills come really handy,
Mm,
given the fact that now the world is moving towards more and more AI adoption.
yeah.
Those skills will be kind of I would say normalized.
Mm-hmm,
That every student, be it supply chain or not, doesn't matter, they would be expected to know
yeah.
at some point, to
Mm,
at least understand the basics, such as what's a data visualization, what's
right.
going to be how can we utilize the data to predict, you know
Yes.
um, so those are, I would say, would be the basics one. Now,
Yeah.
going beyond that, I would also recommend students to start thinking about beyond the books.
Mm-hmm.
What they read in books is definitely based on the case studies that happened in the past.
Yeah.
It's a good way to learn,
Yeah.
but they also it's also important to understand that things in the past are not going to be the same.
Right.
So how are the challenges changing for
Mm-hmm.
industries,
Mm-hmm.
and what would be the solutions that they can help um,
Yeah.
the companies with? I think that's gonna win, make them a winner. Being a student,
Yeah.
you are not bound to any biases.
Yeah.
You're open to ideas. You
Yes.
have the platform to talk to multi departments,
Yes.
your professors and leaders like you,
Mm.
to channelize your thoughts
Yeah.
and bringing a new perspective to the employer, and telling them that, hey, we know you have been facing so and so challenges. According to us, you
Yeah.
can try it this way. I think that would be a definitely a winning strategy.
Yeah. Excellent. I think I couldn't agree with you more. Having that mindset of solving problems, is very important because the problems are going to evolve. They're not going to be the same.
Exactly.
We just talked about how things have changed, and things will continue to change and evolve. There'll be problems that we will face with we haven't seen in the past. And so what we need is not a cookie cutter approach, but a very much of a problem solving mindset so that we
Exactly.
can solve any problem that comes our way. That's wonderful advice. And also on the AI front, right, Mohit, you're not talking about the coding skills, right? I mean, right? If you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
I was about to say that,
Yeah,
because I know we were going that route.
yeah,
Is that, don't hesitate in experimenting. You know,
yes,
um, like I don't, I if you're coming from supply chain background, I would not expect you to be a good coder to get me an
yeah,
LNM ready.
yeah.
But having a basic knowledge and be
Hmm.
able to work with an AI generalist or an expert to
Yeah,
help them explain the vision,
right.
make them understand what you're looking, I think that is a skill that would help you in quick wrap up in any
Yeah,
industry, in a or
exactly.
company, and would basically set you up for a virtuous circle.
Absolutely.
So I think that's what I meant when I say, like start looking into the basic AI skills as well. And
Yes.
it's not as hard to learn those.
Yeah.
There are many courses that are available,
Yes.
open source, be it you can go through EDX or
Yeah.
Coursera, or you know as being a student, you should be open to experiment with those sort of
Yeah.
learnings, and I
Yeah.
think that will set you apart from the crowd.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm glad that, we clarified for our students as to what it is that we mean when we talk about AI, right? I mean, people will automatically start thinking, oh, I'm not a coder, I'm not a technical person, but it's so much more than that. I mean, it's learning how to use AI technology in business. That's far more important than just the coding part of it. I mean, of course, coding is
Exactly.
important, but yeah.
So knowing where can be a good application,
Hmm.
you said it absolutely right.
Yeah, yeah. And in the interest of time, I mean, one last question to you, Mohit. You know, what would be your advice to the young supply chain professionals? You know, what it is that they should be doing, whether it be students or whether it be recent graduates. Uh, you know, Anything that comes to your mind, if you would like to share, please.
Be open to continual learning.
Mm.
With the new technology coming in,
Hmm.
we are at the time where there's going to be a paradigm shift in the ways companies are working,
Hmm.
the the ways companies operate.
Right.
So I would not be surprised if 10 or 15 years down the line,
Mm.
there is an added skill that it's
Mm-hmm.
being in demand. Like, okay, should be at least uh, AI savvy. I'm just putting it
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
on paper, or we need somebody who is who should be an AI supply chain expert, but at the
Yeah.
same time, be able to provide some application ideas,
Yeah.
as well. So be open to those uh, learnings. Be
Yeah.
open to continually improve and work on
Mm-hmm.
what you know,
Yeah.
and be empathetic. I would say, like,
Mm-hmm.
and what I mean by that is, not every person, including myself, knows everything.
Yeah.
So knowing that, and and be humble about that, would
Mm.
help you going long way.
Absolutely. I think you said it very nicely. I think, and I agree with you. I think having that learning mindset, having the mindset continues to learn, to problem solve, uh, and to be aware that at any given point in time nobody knows everything, and it's just a matter of finding ways and opportunities to learn and grow is what will set you apart from others. No,
Absolutely.
it's wonderful. Well, I know we are about time. So thank you so much, Mohit, for taking the time off your busy schedule. I know you have a lot going on, so really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vineet, for
Uh,
inviting.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
You
that.
take care and have a great year.
You too. Bye
Bye.
bye.